If the third dukkha, the dukkha mental formation, if it's, at least at first, a natural biological survival strategy, better turn the oven off, otherwise the house will catch fire. How do we distinguish when it becomes unuseful or when it becomes morbid? I mean, at first it's a healthy thing. That's why it exists. We need it to survive, right? Mm-hmm. I guess it's only when you abuse it that it becomes unhealthy. Mm-hmm. How do we detect that we're going overboard, that we're going too much of it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I did a talk at one point in the past. I could revisit that, the types of thinking and how to distinguish them, because there's also the thinking that comes from deeper intelligence or collective consciousness. So that's a little trickier even, right? To recognize thoughts that are coming from the whole, not from ego. But ego will produce, life-saving thoughts that are pretty necessary, like turning off the stove. They're often easy to recognize for what they are, in that they don't tend to have a sense of creating suffering, and a sense of, I wish they would stop. That sometimes you just get into the mind that's just churning away, or like when you're trying to fall asleep and the mind's just thinking, really sometimes about nothing in particular. Like, what's that all about? But it's causing suffering, right? So you can recognize Sankara Dukkha by the presence of suffering. That this just feels, it's uneasy and not peaceful, right? But yeah, we'll use our minds throughout the day to do, not only to survive, but to solve problems. What we need to navigate the world. But when there's that sense of this feels uneasy, and there's tension, tightness. There's the mind there's the Sankara Dukkha. It often feels, the word the Buddha used is papancha. I love that word because it kind of captures this mind that's just cycling through things, right? It's proliferating on something. It's grabbing something and just proliferating, going around and around and around, like something in a washing machine or a dryer. Oh, wow, round and around, papancha. So that's really the way to recognize it. But what's funny is when the mind spends a lot of time on Sankara Dukkha, a lot more than we realize. When Sankara Dukkha diminishes, there's a lot of space. A lot of space and a lot of saved energy. So I don't know if I answered your question enough. It's kind of a felt sense for it. Is this helpful and constructive, or is this causing more suffering and feels unsatisfactory and unpeaceful and agitative? So it's really a felt sense for it.